Hi there, it's Anne at Life LDC here. Thanks for joining me here on the Life LDC couch for my June update. I have had a unique, so I called it Back to the Future experience this month. I had something come up in the knitting world that took me back way to the beginning of my adult knitting. So I hope you grab a cup of tea, or it's awfully hot all over the place, all over the world right now, so maybe a cool drink is better. Settle down with me and have a chat about knitting for half an hour or so. The Back to the Future moment happened when I was watching the Bakery Bears, Kay and Dan, talk about Kay's new collection of designs, and it's a mystery collection. It was called the Swish and Flick Collective. Swish and Flick. Do you remember that from the Harry Potter movies? That was for levitation. So I'm a mad Harry Potter nut, so I was intrigued immediately by this. Before the first pattern was released, Kay put up the project page, which included the recommended materials, or the materials that she had used. She was saying that she's not saying you have to use the yarn that she used, like any knitting pattern, but what caught my eye right away was she used 9 shades of Koigu KPPM, the Koigu Premium Painter's Merino yarn. The reason why she used that yarn was they come in 50-gram balls versus the usual 100 grams of the hand-painted yarns that are really popular right now. So the design used 9 shades, and that yarn, the hand-painted yarn, was paired up with a strand of mohair. Well, mohair is all the rage right now, so I thought, this sounds like something I could do. So the backstory, what the Back to the Future thing, Koigu was one of the very first yarns that I knit with way back in my early, I'm trying to think, it was late 90s. So in my late 30s when I really started to get back to knitting as an adult. And Koigu is a yarn that's produced here in Ontario. And the hubby and I one time went on one of these artistic studio tours where you drove around the countryside and you stopped at different artist studios, and one of the stops was Koigu. It's about 2 and a bit hours north of here. We'd already made a few stops before we got there, but as soon as I drove in, my color sense and my knitting, like, just totally intrigued. I was enthralled by it. Koigu at the time, and they still are, on a farm just in northern Ontario. It's not northern Ontario. It's north of here, but it's not considered northern Ontario. And at the time, typical farmhouse, big front porch, and there were skeins of yarn hanging on just about everything, drying. And when we went into the house, there was, I believed, if I can remember, 2 rooms full, floor to ceiling, walls covered in shelves full of Koigu yarn. I was so overwhelmed. I'd never seen anything like this before, and I believe that Koigu were probably, and someone could help me out if you know of another hand-painted yarn, but I think Koigu were the original hand-painted yarn. They were established in 1992, and I think that probably it was 92 when I actually visited their farm. I had the real pleasure of trying on this gorgeous jacket coat that was just being finished up. They were tidying up the ends, and there were some clips to be put on the front, some beautiful clasps. I tried it on. It was absolutely gorgeous. Turns out it was the Oriental jacket, and while I was totally in love with it, I felt at the time that my knitting skills weren't up to the challenge. But the Oriental jacket is still on my list of sort of my dream list of amazing projects that I would like to complete one day. And I've been thinking about that, and there's a few other projects I'd like to add to that list, and I'm going to try and bring one of them up each month and maybe add them to this this fantasy queue of things that if I ever just had the time and the focus, these are projects that I would really like to tackle someday. The project that I did knit in Koigu back in the day, I don't think I bought the yarn at Koigu at the time. I'm not sure where I got the yarn, but it was the Charlotte's Web shawl. And that's me back in the day. I wore it with a long, it was almost a midi denim skirt, button up the front skirt, dress, and I absolutely loved it. Hubby took the pictures, and I'm not sure why, but Koigu didn't stay on my radar. I know that they were always featured in Vogue Knitting. I always saw them in Vogue Knitting. And again, I don't know why. I guess that's when I sort of really fell down the rabbit hole with Rowan and started knitting Rowan. And actually, at the time, Koigu wasn't the easiest to find. Koigu yarn is sold worldwide, but it's not the kind of yarn you find in every shop. And even today, with the popularity of hand-painted yarns, it is a small company. It's still all dyed here on the farm by the Koigu ladies and their staff, but it's not a mass-produced thing. So it is, even though it is available worldwide, it's not available in every yarn store. Like my local yarn store doesn't carry it. There is a shop about an hour from me that has it. So anyway, Koigu really caught my eye. So to do this first project, and let me just show it to you. The first project in the Swish and Flick collective was called the Burro Wrap, and it uses 9 skeins or 9 shades of yarn. I've noticed a lot of the projects people are knitting, they might use 5 shades, repeating 4 shades, and you know, using the 5th in the middle and then going back out. The Koigu, so I needed 9 skeins of this, and I wanted it to fade. And so I went on the Koigu website, and there was these kits miraculously made up of 9 shades of Koigu, and one of them was this sort of orangey, you know, basic, the main color had an orange base. And I knew in my stash the required amount of Kid Silk Haze in this shade Brick. So nothing could have been, it couldn't have been planned better. And then on top of it all, I heard what the background of the Burro Wrap, the inspiration is the burrow, the home of the Weasleys, and the fact that there's 9 shades is because there are 9 Weasleys. I had to rack my brain to come up with all 9 Weasleys, but I eventually did. So I've got them in my head now, and I've put the yarn that was in the order. I left it in the order per the fade, per the Koigu ladies, because they know best. But I did name each shade per a Weasley. So let me just show you. First one and the second shade, each shade is separated by a row of violets. The first 2 are so similar. One's just ever so lightly lighter than the other one. These represent Fred and George. Then there's quite a bright color. This is Ron. Then there's a beautiful, softer version of all of these shades. That's Ginny. Then there was this combination with a lot of green. I decided that this was Charlie because Charlie works with dragons. Then there was this really bright with lots of blue and green and everything in it. This was Molly. Then a darker version of the Molly combination. This is Arthur, Dad Weasley. Then this last combination was very, when I looked at the ball of yarn, it's very suit looking. It was blue with dark grays. So this is Percy. And the last one was very dark, very strong. And I decided that this was Bill because Bill is the one that was attacked by the werewolf. So he has the scars, and he just needed a really nice, strong colorway. So, I absolutely love this. You knit it up. There's an edging that goes on. There's baubles that are on the edge. And the only thing I have left to do, I've got some ends to weave in, and I've got some fringe to put on. So this will be a finished object next month. So the next project in the Swish and Flick Collective is a sock pattern, and it's called Whispers in the Wall. So I mentioned that the sign-up bonus pattern was a sock pattern. Choose your house socks. A sock with a textured pattern on the leg and foot. And of course, the idea is that you pick your house colors and knit your socks up. I didn't do these because I'm not really a sock person. But the second pattern in the official 7 pattern series based on the second book is called Whispers in the Walls. And when I saw the pattern page come up on Ravelry for this, it called for, Kay used the Shakameyer Regia Premium Merino Yak 4-ply sock yarn. And I decided, okay, something new for me, I'm going to order it. So I ordered it from Needles in the Hay. It's a little yarn shop up in Peterborough. Came quite quickly, and I'm looking forward to giving this a try. The pattern, I'm not a sock knitter. The pattern calls, the directions are for knitting socks on circular needles. So I'm going to try that. And I love the texturing on the top. And I don't know if there's a picture here. There's a sneaky little pattern that runs up the back of the sock. And so, as I say, I'm not a sock knitter, but I'm determined to do each of these patterns as a number one, a learning experience, trying new yarn experience, and just breaking my my sort of focus. I'm always on garments and big projects, and it's nice to do projects that are smaller, don't you think? So Koigu yarns were picked up, were noticed right from the very beginning by Vogue Knitting, and I've looked at the library at the Vogue Knitting magazines, and there's always something to do with Koigu in each magazine. I happened to buy this winter 2018-19 edition because it had an article on Dame Zandra Rhodes for Rowan. But also, so when I went back to look at it with an eye to look at it from the Koigu point of view, yes, Koigu has a full-page ad, and they also have a pattern in here that's it's a design by Maria Lay, and it's a shawl that is knit in a pencil box collection. Now, a pencil box collection, I believe, is 10 mini skeins of Koigu yarn, and the shades all go together. And this modular shawl was designed and knit out of a pencil box collection. Now, Koigu also has, they have their own magazines that they publish, and they collections of designs. They get designs from well-known designers and new designers. But back in, I'm not sure what date, let me see what year this is. (2015), they produced wrapped in color, 30 shawls, and this is a collection of designs from different designers. May Landra, of course, the Koigu owner with her mother, but also other well-known designers. Let me just find one that's from another designer. May Landra. Well, Koigu are known for their modular pieces. The hand-dyed yarn is spectacular for those modular pieces. I'm seeing that most of the designs in here are by May Landra. The Charlotte's Web is repeated in here. That's, I guess, one of their best selling patterns. I absolutely love this one. Lori Steinberg. Now, looks like most of them are by May Landra. Zabeth Loisel liner. Anyway, most of them are designed by May Landra. There are a couple of guest designers in this book. My whole intrigue right now with Koigu has got me looking for their first book, which is called Knits from a Painter's Palette. I'm not exactly sure when it was published. Early, let me see, maybe, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's an out-of-print book. Can't find it anywhere. I contacted a used book fellow that I know here that goes around to, it's Grantham Books. He goes around and does all sorts of shows for different, he does knitting shows, but he also does transport shows and that. He collects books to do with hobbies and specific interests. And he's just got in touch with me. Yes, he has a copy of the book, and I'm arranging to have it sent to me. So in that book is the official Oriental jacket design. So I'm going to put that away because you just never know. The Oriental jacket might be in my future. And it's happening in the Life LDC knitting world, you might say. Well, I'm waiting patiently for Rowan Magazine 65. I found out that I had to renew my subscription. I did renew, and I ordered my gift yarn along with my subscription renewal. And for my gift yarn, I received 4 balls of alpaca merino DK in this absolutely gorgeous green, and I will be making the Wheatland hat and cowl. And this is actually the same pattern that I got in my last subscription renewal, but that one came with only 2 balls of yarn, so I couldn't make both the hat and the cowl. So it's been sitting downstairs, and they're in, those balls are in cream, so I think I might come up with some way of combining them and using them both. I'm not sure. We'll see. So tomorrow, or maybe today, or maybe yesterday by the time I edit this video and get it up, will be July 1st, and that will be the opening of the booking for the Marie Wallen Fair Isle Club 5. An absolutely gorgeous throw-sized wrap. It's either you can use it as a wrap or a bed throw. It's not a blanket. It is narrow and wide, and the colors are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I think I'll put another picture here, and all the details are up on Marie's website. There is a limited membership, so I'm anticipating that this one's going to sell out fast because it's the first one that's using Marie's new British Breeds, Marie's British Breeds yarn, which is absolutely gorgeous. Did you see the Fruity Knitting interview of John Arbon, John and his wife, talking about their mill, and they did talk a little bit about how unique Marie's yarn is, how special it is, the blue-faced Leicester yarn that's used in it. So as I say, I think I'm going to be up tomorrow early, setting my my alarm clock so I can get on the line and reserve my spot, pay for my spot in the club, and then you just have to sit back and wait impatiently for December. Kits will probably be mailed out in November, but the actual knit along starts in December. But that gives me time to catch up on the whips that are all sitting in the corner of my living room. I had sort of intended to have them all out on the coffee table and sort of show myself how many whips I had. But what I'm going to do, again, after I finish this and again post this, I'm going to go through my whips. I'm going to abandon those that need abandoned, like that brioche hat. I'm going to rip it out and I'm going to wind it up, and I'm going to put that yarn back in my stash. But the other ones I'm going to prioritize, and number 1 on the list will be my Magnolia knit in Rowan's Felted Tweed. And then I'm doing a shawl that is short rows, and that's in Rowan's Valley Tweed. So those are my first 2 projects. Just give me a second and I'll grab them for you. So I dug out my, this is Fair Isle Club 4. This is how it arrives. It's in another box, but inside the box is this beautiful white box with the Marie Wallen label on it. It says Fair Isle Club 4 on the top. That's a little chart of one of the motifs. And as you can see, I'm almost there. Don't ask me why I stopped. I get sidetracked on things. And I've done the back piece and the underarms. So the underarm piece, and then I've picked up and knit the back piece, and it should, I sort of went against the grain of the pattern. That's probably what stopped me, because then I start doubting myself. You're supposed to pick up from the front and knit up and over the shoulder, but there was a piece, a straight piece in the back here, and I didn't like that, so I actually picked up the back, worked it out so that the pattern went totally across the back with no breaks, and shaped the neckline. So what I'm actually going to do is pick up stitches from the underarm front piece, knit it up to the shoulder line, and then I'm going to 3 needle bind off and have a seam right down the top of my sleeve. You won't notice because it's going to be in the middle of a pattern repeat. So that's my plan. After I do that, I'll have to do my sleeve. There's a little edging, moss stitch edging, and then pick up all around the front neckline, back and down, do the front ferrule band and the inside facing. And then it'll be done. Really, I need to just get on this because I'm so close to being finished, and I want this done before the next Ferrule Club starts. So that's first project. And the other project that I really have to get finished, and I can't even remember the name of this, but it's done in 3 shades of Valley Tweed. It's crochet hook. 3 shades of Valley Tweed. I think it's called the Bradfield Wrap. I'll put the details down below. It's lots and lots and lots of short rows, and I actually quite love this. And I've got a beautiful black, not beautiful black, I've got a beautiful brown leather jacket that this would look spectacular on. So see, as you're knitting, the one side is getting deeper and the other side is staying quite narrow. So I'm looking forward to this. Valley Tweed it's sort of rugged when you're knitting with it. I'm anticipating that this is going to soften up quite a bit when it's actually washed and blocked out. So those are my 2 priority projects, along with the Whispers in the Wall socks for this summer. Well, the Whispers in the Wall are the July project, and then August there will be another Swish and Flick collective pattern. But they are all accessories. So I think the Burro Wrap has already been mentioned, that it was the biggest project of them all. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to fit them in along with my whips for the rest of the summer, along with my other duties. I'm also, I mentioned to you the Aunt Dimity series. Turns out there's a brand new Aunt Dimity. I just picked it up from the library. It's actually a Christmas story. I was tempted to put it off and read it at Christmas, but I couldn't resist. So I'm also reading this right now. And I think that's about it for my my update here at Life LDC. So thanks everybody for tuning in to the Life LDC monthly knit update. I in particular want to say thank you for all your thoughts and messages after my last video about Daisy. We all know this day's coming because pets don't live as long as us, and even though you think you're prepared for it, you really never are. Lackey's becoming he's learning to be a single dog, and I actually think he's starting to come into his own a little bit. He's not worried about Daisy eating his dinner or whatever. Anyway, he's enjoying being a single dog and getting lots of attention from hubby and I. So again, thank you very much for your thoughts on that. Just wanted to say, have a lovely summer. Hubby just brought me a G&T. It's Sunday here, and we're enjoying a nice afternoon on the deck, and I hope you have a lovely summer. Thank you very much. Take care. I'll see you next month.